Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. So if you look at Google, you will see that this research note, very modest little research note, in 1932, Fox helped make propaganda films for Hitler. This is now on 93,000 websites. By the time this program is broadcast, it'll probably be over the 100,000 mark. So 100,000 websites. You'd think that this would be a matter of news, right? I've seen people on, CNN has had reporters on there reporting what's going on the internet, and they say, oh, it's viral, it's gotten 50 or 70,000 hits. Well, we're somewhat beyond that, and we'll be further beyond it. Let me recommend people in the audience, if you want to do something to level the playing field a little bit, you can obviously see that key elements of the ruling class have decided to de-emphasize Obama, maybe to dump him, and to go to play the card of the reactionary Republicans, and unfortunately now the wholly controlled Tea Party dupes and fanatics. If you want to do something to level the playing field, why don't you take that essay by me in 1932, Fox helped make propaganda films for Hitler, and send it to various media outlets. You can get the list of the MSNBC programs. They would be likely, right? Media Matters ought to be interested. The vaguely center-left newspapers and television networks, you get the idea, or local media, local talk shows. It can build up that way, too. If you have any left-wing, progressive, or even centrist, if there's such a thing, radio in your area or television, send on that interesting piece of research. Fox Movietone News, supported Hitler in 1932. And when Fox News Channel first went on the air, according to my research, they on weekends would fill the time with some vintage newsreels from Fox Movietone News. Fox turned into Wochenschau, and that's what supported Hitler. So to return now to the Tale of Two Cities, the French, I think, have captured the imagination of the American people by the fact that they fight. They don't take it lying down. They don't lie there when somebody kicks them. They get out and fight. And indeed, the whole point of strikes is to shut it down, shut the whole thing down. Yes, shut down the refineries, shut down the airports, show Sarkozy that he cannot get away with this stuff. He is carrying out the interests of the banks. This is a reactionary right-wing policy. He's got a base of support in the fabled French petty bourgeoisie. But there are other people, wage earners, working families, unionists, and so forth, who I believe are the majority and deserve to assert themselves when these rotten political parties can't. So I think Americans generally sympathize with this. They envy it. And well, they might. It's also clear from what I've been able to see that the French population supports the strikes. Sarkozy is desperately unpopular. It's one of the reasons he's talking about the Tobin tax, the Wall Street sales tax or securities transfer tax. He's desperately trying to get some area where he can propose something that people like, because otherwise he's acting in this highly destructive way. So the problem with these strikes, of course, is shutting it down is great. It's indispensable. But then what? What's your program? Do you have an alternative way to run society? If you go in there with a Tobin tax domestically, if you want to do other reforms, right? Seize the central bank, seize the European Central Bank, or your local central bank, whichever one it is, and use that to issue 0% government-backed credit for infrastructure and for real, tangible, physical manufacturing commodity production, not finance, not speculation, not drug money laundering, then you have tremendous power. The problem is the leaders of the French unions don't have this. And if you notice, the only demand these French unions have made is they want to negotiate about the austerity. They would like to moderate it, make it a little bit milder, ameliorate it, whatever it is. It's a very weak, very timid demand. And Sarkozy obviously wants the clash because he's refusing to negotiate. He says, I won't even talk to you. I have nothing to say to you. So he's goading them and provoking them into doing this, which probably the leaders would rather not do, because the leaders, these bureaucrats, right? Since Germany in the 1930s, we know what social democratic type union leaders are worth, and the answer is, when you get a real crisis, not much. On the other hand, it's better to have these organizations than not. The problem is, in addition to this element of organization, there's got to be the element of program. Somebody who says, I know what to do. Push Sarkozy aside. We know what to do. Here's the program we want to govern with. And it can't be a bunch of platitudes, needless to say. So that's the greatness and the limitations of the French protests. And, of course, over here, though, people are willing to accept austerity. And, unfortunately, the English-speaking world not looking too good in this department. We have the Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, a bloody Tory, a reactionary Tory in the great tradition of Sir Neville Chamberlain and Margaret Thatcher, Thatcher Milk Snatcher, as she was known. Maggie Thatcher, we're hearing about her, right? She's going to be humanized. I think she's ill in the hospital. This was the woman who decided that giving every school kid 1 pint of milk per day was communism and Bolshevism, and she had to take the milk away from poor school kids. You'll remember that in Wales and northern England, in the mining districts, in the 30s, the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, rickets, pellagra, scurvy, and other vitamin deficiency diseases were the order of the day. To counteract this, the best is, of course, the universal protective food, milk. But Thatcher came along and said, no, we're taking away that pint because that's socialism, that's communism, that's the slippery slope, that's the culture of dependency. All this trash rhetoric, lunatic, reactionary rhetoric, self-serving from rich hyenas who purvey this rhetoric. She did the same thing, and she succeeded. She took away the pint of milk. But now the Tories are back. So what's their austerity program? This is an exercise in insanity, but it's also an axis has developed from Governor Christie of New Jersey, the Garden State answer to Hermann Goering, to the Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne. We've now got the Anglo-Saxon austerity axis, and of course the presiding spirit for all this is Heinrich Brüning, the Chancellor of Germany from 1930 to 1932, who used an extreme deflationary policy, an Andrew Mellon policy of liquidating everybody, liquidate bonds, liquidate stocks, liquidate real estate, liquidate the labor, liquidate the farmer, and then you'll have a recovery. Too bad if you die. Something like that going on in London. $125 billion of cuts. We'll detail them in a minute. We'll be right back.